I never expected a Monday morning to feel like the end of the world, but there I was, sitting at my desk, staring at a stapler like it had personally betrayed me. My coworker, Lisa, had just walked past, smirking as if she knew she had won some invisible war I hadn't even realized I was fighting. Yesterday everything was fine, casual jokes, shared coffee, the usual office small talk. But today her tone was sharp, clipped, and her smile carried a venom I couldn't ignore. I overheard her talking to Mark, our manager, about how chaotic the new project would be if I stayed in charge. I froze. My heart raced. Was this a misunderstanding, or had she set out to undermine me in front of everyone? I tried to brush it off, telling myself, it's just office politics, don't take it personally. But as the day wore on, small things piled up like bricks on my chest. She would interrupt me in meetings, take credit for ideas I had pitched, and send emails with passive-aggressive remarks that made me question my own competence. By lunchtime, I could barely breathe. I texted my best friend Alex under the table, "She's ruining my day, I don't know how to deal." His reply was quick, "Document everything, don't engage emotionally. Just protect yourself." I knew he was right, but knowing something and doing something were two very different things. The breaking point came during a video call with the client. I was presenting our strategy when Lisa chimed in, correcting me mid-sentence. Her words weren't constructive, they were mocking. I could feel the eyes of the client shifting, evaluating. And for the first time I realized this wasn't a small office feud. This was war. After the call, I stayed behind in my cubicle, shaking, scrolling through every conversation we'd had for months, looking for a pattern, a justification, anything. But there was none. Just her, relentless, and me, trying to survive another day without losing my mind. I knew something had to change, and I wasn't sure if it would be her who changed or me. By the end of the day, I could barely keep my composure. Lisa had managed to, accidentally, delete a key file I had been working on for weeks. My heart sank as I stared at the empty folder. Every backup I had somehow seemed insufficient. I felt a mix of anger, disbelief, and exhaustion that made my hands shake. I confronted her, trying to remain calm. "Lisa, did you move the file? I can't find it anywhere." She tilted her head, smiling innocently. "Oh, I didn't touch anything. Maybe it's just gone." Her voice was honey-sweet, but I knew better. The office had gone quiet. Some coworkers were watching, trying not to intervene, others whispering behind her back. I realized then that this was no longer just a rivalry. It was a test of endurance, patience, and my own sanity. That evening I stayed late, trying to recover the file. My fingers flew across the keyboard, scanning backups, digging through old emails, anything that could restore weeks of work. As I worked, I could hear Lisa's chair scrape against the floor, her steps deliberate as she left the office. But the damage wasn't just technical. My confidence had been chipped away piece by piece, subtle attacks that left no visible scar but a constant ache. I wondered, was this how it always begins? Small, insidious moves that escalate until you no longer recognize your own environment. By the time I left, the office was empty, silent, almost mocking. I walked to my car, heart pounding, realizing that if I didn't act soon, this tension would consume more than just my work. It would consume me. The next morning, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I started documenting every interaction, emails, meetings, even casual comments. I printed them out, highlighted patterns, and created a timeline of Lisa's manipulations. When she saw me reviewing notes at my desk, she smirked. "Planning your next move, huh?" I didn't respond. I just kept typing, keeping track. For the first time, I felt a flicker of control. Maybe the battle was just beginning, but at least now I had ammunition. Not to hurt her, but to protect myself, to reclaim the dignity I'd started to lose. By midweek, the tension between us had reached a fever pitch. Every glance from Lisa felt like a challenge, every word a calculated jab. I started noticing how she subtly manipulated meetings, steering conversations to her advantage, positioning herself as the indispensable voice of reason, while I felt increasingly invisible. During one particularly long meeting with upper management, she interrupted me repeatedly, twisting my words into something I hadn't even said. My cheeks burned with frustration, but I held my tongue, knowing that losing my cool would only play into her hands. Afterward, I retreated to the break room, my chest tight, wondering if anyone else noticed what was happening. Was I imagining it, or had the entire office become a stage where I was the unwitting target of her game? That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed every interaction from the day, dissecting each tone, each pause, each smile. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became, not just at Lisa, but at myself for letting it escalate this far without confrontation. I texted Alex again, desperate for guidance. It's like she's everywhere, controlling everything. How do I fight back without losing my job? His reply was blunt. You're documenting, right? Then you have proof. Stop letting her on the narrative. Start owning it yourself. I realized he was right. I couldn't wait for someone else to notice or intervene. This was my battle, and I had to fight it strategically. The following day, I walked into the office with a plan. I would assert myself calmly but firmly, making sure my voice was heard without descending into hostility. Every meeting, every conversation, became an opportunity to reclaim space I had been pushed out of. Lisa noticed immediately. Her smirk faltered just slightly, her eyes narrowing as if she sensed the shift. I kept my composure, but inside, a storm was building, a mix of anxiety, anticipation, and a fierce determination not to be undermined any longer. By the time lunch rolled around, I knew the real confrontation was coming. The question wasn't whether it would happen, it was whether I would be ready when it did. That afternoon, Lisa cornered me by the printer, a place we both used constantly. She smiled, that same smug expression, and said, "You're really stepping up your game lately, trying to be the hero of the office." I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "No, I'm just doing my job. Maybe you should try focusing on yours instead of undermining mine." Her eyes flashed, a mix of surprise and annoyance. For a moment, I saw a crack in her armor, and I realized that my shift in confidence was beginning to change the dynamic between us. Later, during a team meeting, she tried to interrupt again, but this time I didn't flinch. I held my ground, finishing my points, presenting data clearly and speaking with authority. The team listened, nodding along, and I could see the subtle shift. Her dominance was waning. After the meeting, Mark pulled me aside. "You've really taken control of your presentations." "Impressive." I smiled weakly, aware that this acknowledgement meant more than just praise. It was proof that I was reclaiming my voice. That evening, I reviewed my documentation once more. I had emails, meeting transcripts, and notes highlighting instances of her undermining behavior. It wasn't just about feeling slighted anymore. I had concrete evidence. I drafted a plan to approach HR if necessary, but I also realized something else. I didn't need to play dirty to win. The best strategy was clarity, professionalism, and confidence. I wasn't just surviving the office anymore. I was taking it back. The next day, Lisa attempted another subtle sabotage. During a team brainstorming session, she tried to redirect my idea as her own, speaking over me and gesturing toward Mark as if to validate her authority. But this time I didn't hesitate. I calmly interrupted, "Actually, that was my suggestion. Here's why it works." I laid out my points clearly, backing them with data and examples. The room went quiet, everyone attentive, and I could feel the power in simply speaking my truth. For the first time in weeks, I noticed Lisa's confidence falter. Her smirk was tighter, less natural. Something had shifted. I was no longer invisible, no longer a passive participant in her game. During lunch, Lisa approached me, trying to reclaim some semblance of control. "You're really trying hard to shine, huh?" she said, voice sugar-coated but sharp at the edges. I smiled, letting my calm assertiveness show. "I'm not trying, I'm just doing my job. You should join me sometime instead of standing in the way." Her expression twisted, a mix of irritation and begrudging respect. I could see her realizing that her usual tactics no longer had the same effect. For the first time, she had to acknowledge that I had become a force she couldn't easily manipulate. By the end of the day, I had regained a sense of balance in the office. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was thriving. My ideas were recognized, my voice heard, and the constant fear of being undermined had diminished. I even started receiving small, supportive gestures from colleagues who had previously been silent. Their acknowledgement reinforced that the shift wasn't just in my mind. It was real, tangible, and empowering. I left the office that evening with a renewed sense of self-worth, knowing that the battle wasn't over, but I had finally learned how to fight it on my terms. The next morning, Lisa tried one last maneuver. She scheduled an impromptu meeting with Mark, hoping to publicly question my handling of a project. I arrived prepared, notes in hand, data clearly organized, and a calm confidence radiating from me. As she presented her points, I listened quietly, then responded with clarity, professionalism, and facts. Every question she posed, every attempt to twist the narrative, was met with precise, measured answers. The room grew quiet, her smirk fading, replaced by tension. By the end of the meeting, it was clear to everyone that I had handled the situation with far more competence and composure than Lisa. The power dynamic had completely shifted. After work, Mark pulled me aside. "I've noticed the changes. You've been handling yourself exceptionally well. Keep it up." I nodded, realizing that I had not only reclaimed my position but had earned genuine respect. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, the fear, the anxiety, the self-doubt slowly dissolving into empowerment. For the first time in weeks, I allowed myself to feel proud. Not boastful, not arrogant, but quietly confident in my own abilities and boundaries. Lisa approached me one final time that week. Her tone was neutral, almost hesitant. I think we can work together now," she said. I nodded, choosing professionalism over confrontation. I realized that this was more than just an office feud. It was a lesson in boundaries, resilience, and self-respect. I had learned that the best way to win wasn't through retaliation, but through consistency, clarity, and the unwavering belief in one's own worth. That night, as I left the office, I felt a sense of closure. The storm had passed, and I had emerged stronger, wiser, and more confident than ever before. The following week, the office atmosphere changed entirely. Lisa no longer tried to undermine me. Instead, our interactions became neutral, almost cooperative. I maintained my professional boundaries, keeping my focus on the work rather than personal drama. I realized that true strength wasn't about confrontation or victory over someone else. It was about self-assurance, consistency, and refusing to let anyone dictate my worth or confidence. I felt a deep sense of satisfaction knowing I had navigated the storm without compromising my integrity. By the end of the month, my projects were thriving, colleagues were supportive, and my reputation was solid. The experience had taught me invaluable lessons about resilience, self-respect, and the importance of standing firm without aggression. I finally understood that the real battle wasn't against Lisa. It was against fear, doubt, and allowing someone else to control my perception of myself. And with that realization, I felt a profound sense of empowerment, ready to face any challenge, confident in my ability to navigate conflicts with clarity and strength.